Hello, welcome to the West Ham Transfer Rumours Show, and we've got a mixed bag for you today. We've got a Brazilian wonderkid, we've got centre-backs, we've got a winger, and we've got a player I really want at West Ham. He's linked with moves away from his club, just not to the Hammers yet. And I'm hoping that's something that comes along, because I think he'd be an excellent addition. I'm just going to mention it in the video for the sake of it. Before we get underway though, please do subscribe if you're around here and drop a like on the video as well by clicking the thumbs up button. Both things are free, it takes a handful of seconds, helps out the video, helps out the channel, makes me quite happy. Right then, that Brazilian wonderkid Guilherme, we've all seen the rumour now. Tim Steidten is currently in Brazil. He went over there to deal with the Wesley negotiations as well as the Fabricio Bruno negotiations. Update on him shortly. But we're being linked to Guilherme now. I've heard of him. A player that we're linked to from South America that I've actually heard of. Unfortunately, I've never seen him play a whole game of football. I've seen highlights reels of him. I think we all have. He's one of the players with a lot of hype in the Brazilian league at the minute. I've been reading a lot of people who are clued up on the South American football game, and they all think this would be a coup for West Ham, and he's destined for big things, and he could be the next big superstar, one of them. There's always a conveyor belt of talent coming out of the Brazilian league and Brazilian team, and he's supposed to be one of the next ones. So there's a lot of excitement around this potential transfer to West Ham. So without having seen him play 90 minutes, it does have a sense of ambition about it. 30 million is the price tag plus sell-on clauses as well, so they're not giving him away. It'll be interesting because we're not going to be signing Guilherme and Wesley, are we? It's one or the other, if either. And I think there's almost a little bit of pressure on Tim Steidten here not to come back empty-handed. It's his third or fourth trip to Brazil now, and I was quite critical of him at the end of the summer transfer window because last year he went over there for the last few days of the window to try and get a striker, and we didn't get one. And I felt that if our technical director, the guy in charge of the transfers and negotiations, was going to go somewhere, it's sort of all eggs in the basket. You've got to get someone. And he didn't. Now, it wasn't the end of the world because it was his first summer transfer window as the main guy at any football club. But this one is the second one now, but I'm pleased that he's gone there at the start of the transfer window to try and get business done quickly rather than leaving it till the end of August and going over there with a bit of pressure. But the Fabricio Bruno ones hit a significant bump in the road. The Wesley one seems like it's died down a little bit, and now we're being linked to Guilherme. So hopefully he comes back with someone he wants and we can do business. He seems intent on hoovering up some talent from South America, which I understand why, and truth be told, about time. It's about time that West Ham were involved in trying to purchase players like this, because this is what Tim Steidten's all about. Earlier on I did a video about Nottingham Forest because they're under pressure for PSR and they might have to sell a player, and I mentioned Murillo. He's my number one choice. I think he's been sensational this season. Never heard of him. I watched Nottingham Forest one game and thought, who is this guy? I had to sort of look him up on my phone as the game was going on. And he just broke through in Corinthians' first team, played a handful of games. I think he'd played about 20 professional games. And they went and got him just like that. And he looks fantastic. This is what Tim Steidten's for. Tim Steidten is here to identify talent, the next big thing, and get them into West Ham while they're 20-30 million before they become 60-80 million. That's what we've got them in for. So I'm fingers crossed that we can get some business done and it turns out to be a good signing. In regards to Guilherme, I'll put the link. All the players I mentioned below, their transfer market profile is in the description below, so the link's there. He's 18 years old, 30 million euros is the price tag. Reading what people were saying about him, he can play anywhere, really. He's left-footed, and they feel like his best performances have perhaps come on the right-hand side so far, so where Bowen and Kudus arguably play their best football. But he can play on the left, he can play number 10, he can even play deeper in midfield if needs be. And I guess at 18 years old, he's got 40 appearances, which is significant for somebody of that age. Only one goal, but I don't want to use that against him. When you're 18 and you're breaking into football, even as an attacking midfielder, while goals and assists are important eventually, I'm not sure at that age. I think it's about development, it's about trying to just mould them into the way you want them to be. So I'm willing to sort of ignore. If this was a 28-year-old, not so much. I'm looking for evidence that they can score and create goals. But at 18, I think it's a bit of a harsh thing to judge him on. But 40 appearances, 40 at that age is fantastic. So watch this space, I think, in regards to West Ham pursuing him. Like I said, I've heard of him, so that's exciting. Never seen him play, just clips. I've seen clips. Accidentally, again. Moving on to Fabricio Bruno then, the centre-back that I thought we'd sign. I'll be honest with you, I was a bit naive. If you caught yesterday's video, I said in there that he'd rejected the first contract for West Ham, and I just dismissed it. I said, so what? Why would he not reject the first one? It's just standard procedure in negotiating, surely. But since updating then, there's been a few reports around Bruno's decision, which is that his partner is pregnant at the minute. So they're only willing to relocate to London if the offer is financially substantial, and it isn't. Apparently our initial offer was similar to what he's on currently at Flamengo, which is about 13 to 15 grand a week, which obviously is a lot of money to you and I, but to a professional footballer in the Premier League, not so much. And why would he come to the Premier League? It's for money. It's his job. He would come to West Ham or a other European club if the financial incentive was worth it. It's the balance, isn't it? The money is what needs to bring that balance down and say, right, it's tipped in the favour, I'm going to move. But at present, we haven't made him such a thing. But also, Flamengo are a massive club. They're one of the biggest clubs in Brazil. Them is Sao Paulo, the two clubs who have never been relegated from the top flight in Brazilian football. I think they might even be the biggest club in terms of supported club. They've got tens of millions of fans. They're a huge club. So basically, the reports are he's actually quite happy. He's now in the Brazil squad. He's winning trophies where he is. It's a club that challenges for trophies on a regular basis. He's happy where he is, but he's willing to give it up in order to move to secure a financially lucrative deal for his family. But at the minute, that's not an offer from West Ham. So that's why it's hit a massive bump in the road. Apparently, he's asking for 6 times the salary. He's looking for 60, 70 grand a week, which isn't much for a Premier League. That's what you pay for a squad player in the Premier League this day and age. You know, he's replacing Ogbonna. Now, I've seen some say that he's replacing Ogbonna, so he's going to be fourth choice. But no, I haven't really seen anyone in terms of in the know or a source to say that he's replacing Ogbonna in terms of squad stature. Fotheringham is replacing Anang, squad position. Third choice keeper out, third choice keeper in. Fabricio Bruno, to be fair, prior to hearing that, I had just assumed he was coming in to challenge for the first team. So he might be taking Ogbonna's space in the squad and his wage. But in terms of only playing a handful of games next season, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting more. I thought he would be somebody that is maybe not pivotal, but a big part of Lopetegui's plans. And he's coming in to play alongside possibly Mavropanos, challenge Kurt Zouma. I was expecting him to have a significant role next season, actually. So this one is not quite dead in the water, but it feels like it's more likely to not happen than happen at this stage. I understand it. I've got no issues if he decides to stay where he is because the money isn't good enough. I get it. Football is his job. He's at a club that, I don't know if he's a Flamengo fan or not, but it's a huge club. I get it. The money is the only reason he would leave. So, moving on to other centre-backs then. We're going to start with Estève or Steve, who is at Burnley. They signed him in the January transfer window for 10 million-ish. And he did okay at Burnley. The problem is it's hard to judge him at Burnley, but also his biggest fault was his lack of experience. I remember watching Burnley quite a lot last season, and when they brought Estève in, I thought they were screaming out for an experienced centre-back, a bit like what Wolves did the season prior when they brought in Craig Dawson from us. I thought that's exactly what Burnley could have done with. Weirdly, someone like Ogbonna that they bring in on a short-term deal just adds a bit of experience to that back line, because they were making a lot of errors, and at times they just looked like a fish out of water in the Premier League. And Estève was one of those, but it wasn't just him. If he was playing next to somebody experienced either side of him, he might have been better. I don't know. He might have been. But having players like O'Shea one side of him, it didn't help matters. And I think he got exposed a little bit at times. However, there was good performances from him. So I can understand why we are interested in him. Just 22 years old. So it's ticking a few boxes. So we're being linked to Burnley's Estève at the minute. But perhaps more prominently, more likely, is Jacob Greaves of Hull City. 23-year-old centre-back. Now, we've been linked to him for quite some time now, actually. I almost want to say pre-Tim Steidten. It's possible. But just because the guy in charge of transfers, Rob Newman, has departed, and we've got a new one now in Tim Steidten, the manager has changed. Obviously, some transfer targets are going to disappear, just like that. You would expect Scott McTominay, perhaps, as somebody that we would have wanted, we no longer want. But when it comes to players like Jacob Greaves, it makes sense as to why Tim Steidten would also want him and Lopetegui would also want him, because he's homegrown, he's young, and he's one of the best centre-backs in the Championship. So it's going to appeal to the majority of Premier League clubs, regardless of who your manager is and who your technical director / sporting director / director of football is. He's going to appeal to everybody, bar the real top ones that don't need to gamble on potential from the Championship. So it makes sense. I've only seen Hull City a handful of times, and I quite liked them, actually. I thought they played quite good football. I know that I had a good squad and they missed out on the playoffs. I was quite surprised when they sacked the senior, but what do I know? I only watched Hull a few times. But when I did watch Hull, Greaves impressed. Dribbles out from the back with the left-footed, plays on the left-hand side, centre-back obviously. He's got the leadership ability as well, not necessarily why we're buying him, but he's captain of Hull City too. I was impressed with what I've seen from him, but I'll be honest with you, when watching a game of football as a neutral, I'm not often concentrating on centre-back performances. I tried to look out for him a little bit because we'd been linked to him a lot. However, because I thought Moyes... I'm going to just go... I'm way to be a bit hypocritical here, right? It's one of the worst things. I don't like people being hypocritical. It's one of the worst traits for me. But when I watched Hull and Greaves would play, there we go. And I thought, I'm going to discard that because Moyes is leaving in the summer. Anyway, it just goes against what I've just said. Why would we not still be interested in him? He's somebody I'd like to happen, actually. I do think this would be a wise signing for us. And if it doesn't work out, you will probably get your money back by selling him to a top Championship club or a Premier League club lower down than West Ham. Somebody like, I say Hull if they got promoted, but someone like Leicester City or Leeds United or someone, you would get your money back eventually on him, I think. So it's a big yes for me for Jacob Greaves. Moving on to Jota Silva, who plies his trade over in Portugal. 24-year-old left winger, right-footed, 15 goals and 7 assists in 42 appearances last season. Almost said this season. We're at the cut-off now. I think we can say last season now. One game to go. Champions League game. Then it's all about the Euros. 2 weeks today the Euros get underway. By the way, if you're a patron, we've launched our Fantasy League and our Predictor competition for the Euros. So get involved. There's no additional fee to it. You just need to be a patron. Get involved. And if you're a patron in June and July and you win, either one, you get a signed shirt. If you're an addict as well as a signed shirt, you get a signed print of Julian Dix, similar to the one that's behind that canvas. And also, runner-up gets a signed autobiography. It'd be Tony Gill or Julian Dix, depending on which competition you come second in. So patrons, please log in and get entered. It's free. Everything's free. It's on the UEFA's official website as well. So good prizes up for grabs, I think. Anyway, in terms of Jota Silva, I don't know anything about him. Okay, don't watch Portuguese football. Don't know anything about him. But if you guys do, please get involved, because I do generally enjoy reading what people have to say about the players we're linked with. It's educational. I use it as an educational tool, so get involved. Oliver Torres is somebody we're being linked to thanks to Extra's employee over at the West Ham Way. He was at Sevilla under Lopetegui. He is departing Sevilla this summer on a free transfer. 29-year-old centre midfielder. His contract has come to an end. Played 27 appearances, 27 games he made last season, so it's not like he's been sat there twiddling his thumbs. I say appearances rather than starts. I did not go that much into detail, but as per earlier, all player profiles are linked in the description below, so you can go have a gander yourself. Nia Fagard has been linked to Lyon and Atletico Madrid for 30 million. Let's discard the Lyon one. First of all, the source is not very good, and second of all, as we know, they have a transfer embargo, and even if they didn't, they're still under scrutiny from the French FA, whatever. they just call the French FA? I don't know what they're called. Anyway, the French equivalent of the FA are monitoring Lyon's transfer activities should the embargo be lifted due to the finances. They feel Lyon's been a little bit vague with how they're funding things at the club, hence the transfer embargo. So let's discard that rumour. The Atletico Madrid one, though, a little bit more tastier, I guess. I'd be surprised if we got anywhere near 30 million for him. I think if we can get over 20, I think we've done well to get a decent chunk of our money back. I feel Gerrard leaving is inevitable. We've been linked with 2 centre-backs all summer, as in we're going to sign 2 centre-backs. We've been linked with plenty more than 2. We're going to sign 2 centre-backs. That's always been the message. You don't need 5, so 2 are leaving. Obona's one of them. Who else? As much as we might want to go, well, it's got to be Kurt Zouma, the likelihood of it is going to be near for Gerrard. And his transfer fee will probably pay for his replacement, and maybe even Obona's replacement as well. If you were to get Greaves and we were to resurrect the Fabricio Bruno deal, probably cost us 25, 30 million. A Gerrard would be 20 million or something like that. So 10, 15 million to get upgrade, to bring in 2 centre-backs and allow 2 to go that we're not going to use next season. That's good business. Now then, we're going to wrap it up. The player I'd like to see at West Ham next season has been linked with a move away from his club, but not to our club. And that's Aaron Wan-Bissaka. At the last game of the season, whoever Man United played, I can't remember, but they won. Was it Wolves? Bournemouth? Can't remember. It was a mid-table team. That was believed to be Wan-Bissaka's last league game. And then obviously in the FA Cup he played and won, had a fantastic game. Although Doku skinned him a few times, I thought he had a really good game, Wan-Bissaka. He's only got 12 months left in his contract at Old Trafford, and there's a big expectation he's leaving. Inter Milan are tipped to be the front runners at the minute for 10 million. 10 million! I would love to be all over this. Love to be all over it. Is he the significant purchase I'd like at right back? Not necessarily. But I think for 10 million, I think it's really, really good value. Worst case scenario, you fix up the right back position for a handful of seasons. One of the best one-on-one defending. He's just fantastic at it. His attacking play is questionable. It's not the greatest. That is the downside of Wan-Bissaka. But his defending, because he's so good defensively, I think it completely outweighs his weakness. And his going forward, he's not terrible. He's just average, and you want better than that. I think for 10, listen, 20, 30 million, no. But for 10 million, I think it's incredible, good value. Homegrown player. Oh, just get Wan-Bissaka in, please. I'd be delighted with that one. Anyway, there you have it. There's your West Ham transfer rumours for today. If you have any suggestions regarding content over the summer, please get in touch with us. hammerschat@gmail.com. Just put video idea or something as the subject. We'll take your ideas. We'll nick them. Because of the summer, it allows us to do stuff that we perhaps wouldn't do. We've done some stupid things in the past. We had the bowl of silly questions. We played FIFA. But that was more of a COVID thing because there was literally no football on. We'll be covering the Euros here on the channel as well. So I've got plenty of content coming up. But please do drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it by clicking thumbs up. Get involved in the comments below with your thoughts on all the transfer rumours. Subscribe to Hammers Chat, and I'll catch up with you in a bit.